Then the music hits, and here comes MJF. And folks, he was chewing the scenery like Betty Davis in her mid-50s. I mean, my God, it was brilliant. And I'll tell you why I thought it was brilliant, not just the performance. He's always good with that. There was special oomph to this, but the people were going to cheer anyway. They were going to cheer because it's MJF and he's back. And after all this other show they've seen, at least something we might want to watch, right? So he let them get it out of their system. Taking a page out of the Johnny Valentine book. You want to chant boring? I'll fucking bore you. Get it out of your system, and then I'm fucking this dog and you're holding its head. Johnny Valentine, that statement made for the first time I've ever made it actually been true. But
Jesus.
So
it took me a second.
So MJF convinced us that he was going to be an over-the-top gimmick babyface. It was still going to be MJF, that smart-ass, but now he's going to be that fun-loving smart-ass MJF. That's what they thought, and he's milking them for all it's worth, and he showed that he can do it, and he had him. He's a verbal maestro. And I mean, just doing that. Hey, how about a round of applause for yourselves? Give yourselves a round of applause. And he says he has the chip from the casino deal, and he guaranteed title shot. He's not going to mess around with this tournament. He's going to cash in when he wants, when the time is right, because, folks, we need leadership. Did you catch that one? We need leadership here, and just like he compared himself to Moses, except he's better than Moses. And he's going to take his people straight through the parting of the Red and or the Cucamonga Sea. Again, that would be the sea that needs parted right now, is the Cucamonga Sea. But anyway,
you can part it with a chair.
There you go. He finishes after this incredible dissertation. The people are cheering him. They're standing up. They shout his catchphrase. He takes a bow, and Moxley music hits. And here comes Wild Thing. You make my toilet sing. Apparently, the language warning was real, because Moxley gets in the ring and confronts him, and the first thing he says is, "You're full of crap." John Moxley didn't say crap on purpose, unless they have all been told that shit is no longer tolerated in this establishment. Because this is the guy that's told the fan to go fuck himself at time, right? So, as soon as Moxley says that, like a light switch, and seamlessly, MJF becomes the real MJF again and instantly turns back heel. That's right, this town sucks and his quarterback's a shits and a blah, 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 and they're starting to boo him out of the building. It was beautiful. It was a work of art because they were going to give him that reaction when he came out. So he let them get it out of their system. Then they see Moxley. Now we're back in program mode, and MJF can be himself, and all is right with the world. And now comes another part of the controversial part of this promo, is that MJF goes on the bender about, I'm going to cash this chip in. It's going to be another bargaining chip in my bidding war of 2024 when I go to a real company with real fans and real wrestlers like my friend Cody and the only real con in wrestling, good old Saint Nick.
It's a good line.
And again, he's brilliant. But you'll see a bunch of old-time wrestlers saying, well, he shouldn't talk about the competition, and that's burying it. It's terrible. And probably the only old-fashioned feeling that Uncle Dave has anymore is, oh, you shouldn't do that. He's completely lost all of his principles, and everything else is now the modern age, and we've all got to learn and change and evolve. And a lot of people are saying that. A lot of people say, and I understand number 2 is the one who knocks number 1, and number 1 ignores number 2 in promotional wars and in competitions of that nature. But at the same time, I see what they're trying to do here because it makes MJF the devil himself, no pun intended, to this audience, to the AEW audience and the AEW faithful. It makes MJF the biggest prick in the world because he wants to go to the WWF where he'll make a lot of money and be treated like a star instead of this shit show. And that makes sense because, to be quite honest, let's face it, both sides have a point, and I can see both of them. But there are not enough people in play here, fans, viewers in play, that are undecided to make a difference anymore in, when they say, well, MJF is just making WWE sound like the big company. Well, everybody knows it already is. There's not enough people you could really convince in the middle there. So, I say MJF is getting heat on himself with that audience. And then Moxley says, well, you better leave the ring right now or I'll make you. And both of them strip down. And by the way, if this was a shoot and he really couldn't get the sleeve of his shirt off and had to work that hard, it was serendipitous. It was perfect. It was brilliant. It reminded me of the old J.J. Dillon can't unzip my jacket spot. And they have the face off, and then MJF powders and walks out. So it was a brilliant verbal performance. And I understand the problems that some people have with his referring to the WWE. If everybody, or even anybody else, much less everybody, if anybody else started doing it on the program, it would be gaga. But because of who he is, what his situation is, and how he can do it, and how he gets mileage out of it, it doesn't bother me that bad. A comment on MJF before we go to the section of the program with the plumber.
I thought it was a great segment. Like you said, he nails everything he does. Putting him with Moxley is a good idea because the fans do like Moxley, and it'll make, I guess as much as you can, it'll make the fans boo MJF. There was fear coming out of the pay-per-view that fans are going to cheer him. Jericho was all but begging people to make him a babyface during the fucking media scrum. I thought MJ...
I wonder why he doesn't want any other heel to have any heat, but go ahead.
Yeah, I thought this was really good. It was also the highlight of the show, I think, in terms of ratings. MJF's one of the people that people tune in to see. It's good to have him back on the show. Hopefully the rest of the show can get repaired somehow, but that's it.
Well, and yes, and they need now more than ever, they need MJF on that program on a regular basis, doing the things that he does, because they've got no Punk. I mean,
they need him in ways that people don't realize, because from what I understand from talking to people outside of wrestling, he's a big deal for people at the network, actually.
Well, yes, because they can, you think that the people running a television network don't know entertaining television, even if they don't know wrestling. They can tell the difference between monotone, somnambulistic delivery of promo lines and goofy, stagey shit between children, and a guy that comes out there like that and sets a place on fire and is a fucking performer. So yes, they want more of that on the, but
is he the biggest star in AEW right now? I mean, Jericho's still the name Jericho.
Yeah.
And Moxley's a big star, but Punk's right now not there. Kenny Omega and the Elite, to their fans, we know what they mean. They're not there. Who's the biggest star in AEW? Right now to you, who's the biggest star in AEW?
See, now that when you ask a question like that, it can be open to interpretation. Yes, and you just mentioned Chris Jericho is the bigger star because more people around the world know his name because he's been around for 20 years. People have heard it. Is he more popular now or more important to the show? Does he get a bigger reaction than MJF? No. So the bigger star, that's subject to interpretation. Who right now is most important to the program? Who are the fans most into, positively or negatively, heel or babyface? I think it's MJF. And
he's the most compelling guy they have right now, especially with Punk not there, because whatever Punk did was compelling. This thing with Punk is the most compelling the Elite have ever been, and we're not going to have a payoff unless Tony gets his way. MJF's the one guy who's always compelling every segment.